Well, thank you, everybody. And really, this isn't a precedent. We're just kind of doing a state of where we're at with our homeless outreach team in the unincorporated areas of Sarasota County. And we all thought together it was important to let the media know, let the public know about what's being done the first quarter of the outreach team being implemented, being funded, and some of the things we're seeing, because we're having really good results right now, and we're proud of that, so we thought we'd tell the community about it. So even though it's unofficially launched on June the 1st, 2018, today is the official launch in the information for the homeless outreach team, and we're going to share some statistics. We kind of live in a society where everybody likes to see numbers and pie charts and everything, so we have some really good numbers and statistics, but we also have some very good stories about people that are being helped by everybody standing up here collaboratively together. With me today are a few of our several community partners that are here to secure the HOT team, as well as those who continue to funding and housing solutions for the homeless community in our partnership with the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. Sarasota County Commissioner Nancy Dieter, the chair of our county commission, is here with us today. Gulf Coast Community Foundation President and CEO Mark Pritchett is here with us, and Salvation Army Lieutenant Will Conley is here with us. Also, you're going to have an opportunity to talk to some of our homeless outreach team members who are here today, if you should choose to want to do that. Lieutenant Brian Gregory is here. Bill Spittler, most everybody knows Bill, who is the homeless coordinator for the team. Case managers Nancy Williams and Leah Hayes are here with us also. We thought it would be good to first show a quick video about what's going on, then we'll tell a few stories, talk a little bit more about statistics. Everybody get to give you some information, and then you can ask some questions, whoever you want to ask some questions to. So Doug, if you put the video up, we'll kind of show some of the activities our team has had.
This camp has been abandoned for a while. We come out here and check on it often, and this area gets flooded, covered in mosquitoes, very swampy.
SHIFTS, the Sheriff's Housing Initiative Facilitating Transient Services, started back in like 2013. And it was based on a need that the patrol deputies had, where they were encountering people that needed shelter, housing, services. The initiative this year was to get a full-time homeless outreach team, or we'll refer to it as a HOT team. Civilian case managers, people that was their forte. You know, they have the tools in their toolbox to really manage people outside, kind of a law enforcement function. But part of that team is to have law enforcement out in front.
How long have you been homeless?
About 2 years.
2 years? So
maybe a little longer, I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
Been like that, I don't know how.
And where were you living before that?
In the woods.
You have to find the path that people have used, and then you come back in here and it's wet. But this probably was an encampment at one time. You got perfect conditions. It's just off the beaten path, but just far enough in here that they have a little cover and concealment. The deputy or myself will go out, do an assessment, talk to the people, and then once that happens, we'll call in the case managers.
The social work side of law enforcement, we want to talk to people. We want to get out here and notify them that there are services out in the community, that they don't have to live on the street.
A friend of mine, he's
staying on the
homeless.
beach?
Yeah, he's staying on the beach, and he has a job. Like, he's trying to save the money to get a place.
That's exactly the type of people that we can help the easiest,
Yes.
because we could just give them some place to stay for a while to save some money.
The program's obviously gotten so much better, so much larger, along not just with the amount of personnel that the sheriff has gotten for the agency, but also the ability of the county to pay for the beds and work with the social services. What really makes us feel good as the case managers and myself and the deputies is everyone's thankful and I guess relieved that we're finally have a way to help people outside the criminal justice system.
So just to kind of give you some numbers, some stats of where we were at, many of the media outlets followed it. We were at in the spring of 2018, the Board of County Commissioners adopted their budget, and they adopted to put this into their budget to fund for personnel within the Sheriff's Office, and they approved the HOT members. I want to say they did better than even we were starting with here now. They funded for 5 positions. We thought we could do it with 3, so we scaled it back, and we're seeing great results. If we need more, we'll talk in the future if we feel like we need that, but we feel good right now with our collaboration with the nonprofits and our service providers with a 3-person team. On May 31st, we launched the HOT team, And it consists of one sworn deputy with Bill, 2 civilian caseworkers, the young lady sitting here with us today. The team itself works 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, but we do have deputies, patrol deputies trained to work within this system too, and work with the caseworkers who can come out and provide services on the weekend. Through outreach, referrals, and agency-generated reports, the team works to establish relationships, trust with the homeless individuals, to educate them, encourage them, and guide them to connect with social service agencies throughout Sarasota County. Team members focus on housing, providing veterans assistance, identifying medical services for mental health, and substance abuse. And to give you some statistics about this county and the importance of this team and the funding that was made available in our partners and our nonprofits, homelessness has dropped over the last few years as the most important thing in Sarasota County. But in June of this year, the climate survey done by Sarasota County Commission, residents still placed homelessness in the top 10 highest priorities for our community. Also released during that citizen survey was that 42% of the individuals surveyed says services for homelessness is the most important issue affecting quality of life. So we are working together to take care of that, to do the best of our ability to help these people out. So everybody likes statistics. The results of the HOT team in the first quarter of almost 300 citizens were contacted since June the 1st, 2018. You saw a video of that, how the team is contacting them. Almost 3 people a day are being contacted to provide services. Nearly 30 veterans have been assisted since June 1st, 2018. More than 80 people have been placed into beds, either through the HOT team with the Salvation Army at the beds that the county pays for there, or through the SHIFTS program that was established a couple years ago, and as Bill Spittler mentioned in the video. I wanted to take 1 minute and give you 3 success stories of the type of people these individuals of our HOT team are encountering on a daily basis. And these are success stories. The homeless outreach team made contact with a 63-year-old diabetic man who had been in and out of homelessness for the last 12 years in Nokomis. He's an amputee and struggles with mental health issues. He is a high utilizer of county services, which would be your fire, EMS, and law enforcement, mostly between a jail and the hospital. He's been working with several social service agencies over the last 5 years, but unable to find housing. The HOT team worked with the staff at the Salvation Army to secure the gentleman a bed. Where his stay, he reactivated his phone, renewed his insulation prescription, got his blood sugar regulated, and started attending church again. The man receives a monthly income from Social Security, so HOT team members were able to get him placed in a house where he has a room, but he also has a case manager working with him to facilitate his medical needs and assure he's on track with his medications. A second story I'll give to you is a homeless outreach team made contact with a 66-year-old female who was leaving a SCAT bus stop for several months. Her legs had oozing sores and flies on them, or were so swollen that she was unable to walk. The woman had defecated and urinated on herself due to her limited mobility. Her thought process was illogical, making communication with our HOT team and our caseworkers difficult. After hours of discussion, HOT team members were able to convince her to go to Sarasota Memorial Hospital. The woman was placed in ICU, that's how bad she was, for 1 week before being transferred to the regular floor at the hospital and thus then given a case manager. SMH case manager worked with members of our HOT team to create a discharge plan. Because the woman was not mentally stable enough to communicate, the hospital hired a private investigator who discovered she had 2 children that she lost to the foster care system years ago when they were 6 and 8 years old. The 2 boys and her father were contacted and visited the woman in the hospital over the next several weeks. Eventually, one of the sons agreed to become her medical surrogate. The woman was discharged to a nursing facility that now addresses her medical needs and mental health needs on a daily basis. So the HOT team was able to locate a family member who now cares for her. And the final one I'll give you, and we'll let these individuals talk. The homeless outreach team made contact with a 53-year-old veteran who was living in a camp on University Parkway. Team members first interacted with him on June 1st, and after completing a detox program, entering a hot bed, he became an excellent example of a man working towards making a lifestyle change. Since coming into a hot bed, the gentleman has made every appointment with his veteran services case manager through the Jewish Family and Children's Services of Suncoast, Florida. He applied for critical documentation regarding his discharge from the military, that he needs to get his benefits, got set up at the health department for immediate medical needs, met with an employment specialist and created a resume, got a bicycle, new work boots, kind of cool, from a social service agency, and has been working odd jobs until he can find full-time employment. That is a true success story of a man in need, transitioning from chronic homelessness to a shelter living, and something that he could not have accomplished without the assistance of the homeless outreach team. So we get to talk about the successes. We're really proud of that at the Sheriff's Office, but I want to let Commissioner Dieter and the others talk about their roles, because this is a collaborative effort amongst all of us here today. So Commissioner Dieter, if you want to talk about the commission?
Well, thanks. I didn't know we were doing a press conference today, so I'm just off the top of my head. First of all, I'd like to thank Carolyn Mason, who's here today, former county commissioner who's dealt with this problem as a city commissioner and then a county commissioner, and obviously has not given up, so I hope you're here to celebrate the success of this. Those of us that have worked in these areas for decades know the old arguments, and on the sheriff's side used to be, we're not social workers, you know, we're cops, we arrest people. But our particular sheriff, Tom Knight, I think he has more hours in the day than any of the rest of us have, keeps coming up with these great ideas. And he's very expensive to know. You know, I try to not return his phone calls because it's going to cost us some money. But these are real practical solutions, because we are here to represent and take care of all of the citizens in Sarasota County, and this is probably the least attractive category, to tell you to be perfectly frank. But we want to help those that not only need our help, but want our help. And if you can help people and give them a full array of services after you identify their problems, that was our goal. And from the 2 success stories, 2 or 3 that you mentioned, you quickly achieved that goal. So the fact that you could get it up and running that quickly is just amazing, and I can report to my colleagues that this is a very successful program, and you came out of the blocks really quickly and solved a need that's been recognized by everyone in the community. We don't want to put people in jail anymore. We don't want them sleeping on sidewalks in front of restaurants. We've heard from the business community. We want people to get the care that they need. Part of this is what I call the bad trickle-down theory. As services got cut on the state level, mental health services in particular, those problems have come down to be dealt with locally, and it's expensive, but we are dealing with it. So the trick for today is to get the word out to the general public, because unless we communicate and let them know that we're doing something, they think we're doing nothing. And we do have success stories. I want to thank the Salvation Army for massaging some of their rules so that we could accommodate these people who aren't really great about rules. And the Salvation Army has worked with us and been very cooperative. So it's a great joint venture, and we're going to continue with it. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm going to ask Mike Pritchard from Gulf Coast say a few things. Gulf Coast has been involved with homeless initiatives for as long as I've been sheriff.
2012.
Yeah, and so talk a lot about what you guys have done and what you're going to do in the future. I know you're working on some other initiatives.
Thank you, Sheriff. And those were amazing stories.
Yeah, those
Thank
are great
you.
stories.
I actually got a preview of those and sent it to our board to let them know that this piece is working. And when I say piece, it's part of a 3-part strategy that we put in place about 6 years ago. The first was to deal with homeless children and families, and we've got a great system thanks to the Harvest House, Catholic Charities, Salvation Army working together. This was the middle piece of how do you deal with the chronic homeless, adult homeless, because they're not the same as children and families. There are a lot more mental and health issues, as you said, Commissioner Dieter. And so, and I've heard Sheriff Knight say this over and over, you can't arrest yourself to success on this. It requires a different. So Sarasota and the Sarasota Sheriff's Department They're leading the state in transforming how law enforcement deals with this issue. They are actually leading the state. They're saying, you know what? We need the caseworkers and we need deputies and we need our hot teams out there doing something very different. So congratulations. And it's working seamlessly with our nonprofit partners. Thank you, Salvation Army. Amazing job. And again, as you said, Commissioner, they did massage the rules, and we really appreciate you getting these people into these emergency shelters. The third piece of this, though, is unaccompanied youth, and we'll be talking about that later today at a different press conference. But this is only the beginning. This is our role is to support the frontline professionals out there and to find affordable housing. And with the launch of the Arbor Village and the groundbreaking we had this month, that'll be 80 units that we'll have for adult homeless and our most needy in the community. And that we'll need to see more of that so that they just can't be in the shelter. And again, thank you for the Suncoast Partnership to End Homelessness. They've done a fantastic job of getting people in the database and coordinating all the services together. So all in all, a successful program, everybody working together under the same strategy, which is really great. So thank you, Sheriff. Thank you.
Lieutenant, you want to talk about the role of Salvation Army?
So the role of the Salvation Army is really a place of opportunity for some of the chronically homeless individuals to have a safe and secure place to stay as they are transitioning from what has primarily been a long-term period of homelessness into stability. I think one of the most significant things that we see in partnering with agencies that recognize that there's something greater than just what you see in the exterior. When you're seeing somebody who has chronic homelessness and realizing that there's a story behind that, the restoration of their dignity tends to be transformative, not only in the individual, but in the community around them. And so the Salvation Army is grateful to simply be able to facilitate an opportunity for them to come into an experience of who they actually are and what their potential is. And I think what Sheriff is seeing is a culture shift in what homelessness is and how to, again, bring restoration to those people's stories. I will just simply say, as a person who's experienced homelessness personally, it was something that I was never expecting to have happen to me. But because of life circumstances, I found myself in that place, and I realized just on a very surface level how homelessness can be viewed, but then what it actually does to the person individually. And so as the Salvation Army continues to endeavor when working with agencies and organizations, just to simply be a place again of continued growth for them is something we intend to continue on. We're grateful for that.
Thank you.
I'll just finish because I know you asked some questions. Is that the partnerships here is Gulf Coast helps raise money for the nonprofits. The county hears their constituents. They tell us that we're trying to tell the story that we're hearing and we're doing the right things. And we heard Commissioner Dieter saying they also fund a nonprofit that helps us out with that. But many things that you see in the Sheriff's Office and the transition we are in law enforcement and the change of law enforcement is we have a lot of empathy for people, and that there's no place in a jail for somebody who's chronic homeless. There's no place in a jail for somebody with mental health issues. There's no place in a jail for somebody who has addiction. Is that there's better places for these people to prop them up and get them going again. And that's what we believe in here at the Sheriff's Office. That's why we want to help the county. We did implement a program at their request, and I want to thank them for making the funding available. The fundamental principle, helping people rather than arresting people, is more important to us than anything that you can ever imagine from somebody wearing a uniform, carrying a gun and a taser. So there's a better way to go to our business, but we have the tools in the toolbox here in Sarasota County. We have foundations, and Gulf Coast is a leader in the foundation on raising the money, helping raise the money, identifying the strategies of raising money for the nonprofits. We have a county commission that's committed, and we have a sheriff's office that has transitioned totally out of just law enforcement arresting people to trying to help people. So with that said, we have our people here, Bill's here, and the caseworkers here. They have some really interesting stories if you want them. And Caitlin, well, she can think of something else that really wanted to press. It was just kind of telling a story and hoping that we can tell the community, like Commissioner Deere said, we want our community to know we're out there, we're doing it.